Good morning, my dear students. In the last class, we had already discussed the beginning segment of The Gentleman of the Jungle by Jomo Kenyatta. And today, we'll continue the rest of the Gentleman of the Jungle. My dear students, in the last class, page number 4 was over, and today page number 5. After hearing the Right Honorable Mr. Elephant's conclusive evidence, the commission called Mr. Hyena and other elders of the jungle. After hearing the Right Honorable, usually a Right Honorable will be written in full form, but here right in the sense right and HON in the sense honorable. My dear students, this is it is written in short form here. It is used for all the jungle animals. I mean respected jungle animals. After listening to the evidence of Right Honorable Elephant, commission called Mr. Hyena and other elders of the jungle, who all supported what Mr. Elephant had said. They then called the man, who began to give his own account of the dispute. Mr. Hyena and all the other inquiry commission people, they just called and they listened to each and every opinion of the elephant. Then they came to know that elephant's evidence was the final, but still they have to listen to man's evidence. Now then they called man, who began to give his own account of the dispute. Man has to still answer. Man has to still give his opinion by standing in the evidence box. Because in the court, both the parties' evidences are being collected. Now only only first party is being collected. First party's information or evidence is being collected, not the other parties. The second party's evidence is not yet collected. That's the reason. Now the man is going to speak on his own experience with the incident, that whatever it had happened in the jungle. But the commission cut him short, saying, "My good man, please confine yourself to relevant issues." Before going to start his evidence in the evidence box or give his evidence in the evidence box, he was told that whatever you want to tell it, you just tell it in a short way. Cut it short. You need not to expand it now, since people are known to it. Alright, we have already heard the circumstances from various unbiased sources. You have already heard the circumstances from unbiased sources. Unbiased sources in the sense, they came to know that they had gone through in this case and they have collected all the necessary informations from this case or in this area. All we wish you to tell us is whether the undeveloped space in your heart was occupied by anyone else before Mr. Elephant assumed his position. All we wish you to tell us whether, yes, somebody else had occupied the hut before the elephant occupied it, or before occupied it. My dear students, the first question was being asked by the Commission of Inquiry to whom? To the man. Whether somebody had occupied your hut before the elephant occupied it? Alright. Fine. The man began to say, no, but he just wanted to tell something, but he could not continue it. Why he could not continue it? Because the milieu, the environment made them not to. The environment made him, not them, him to not to listen to anybody else's opinions, since he was completely confused. Why he was confused? Nobody was there from his side to support him, to tell it very clearly, visibly, so that people can understand whatever he is going to tell in his evidence box. So far, the inquiry committee people, they had just collected all the necessary evidences from all the different sources. But now they are cutting the man's evidence. They are not ready to accept it in a loyal manner, since it has become totally for the name's sake. His evidence, now whatever he wants to give or whatever he is trying to tell, he is not able to speak properly. Why? Because the circumstances have made him to not to speak before the audience or before the jury members. Underline this paragraph, my dear students. But at this point, the commission declared that they had heard sufficient evidence from both the sides and retired to consider their decision. They thought to know that. They came to know that it is almost all like the cleared information, complete information from both the parties. So we need not to take any sort of information from anybody else, since it is enough to give a final decision. After enjoying a delicious meal at the expense of Right Honorable Mr. Elephant, they reached their verdict. Elephant already organized the lunch for all the Commission of Inquiry people. They had sumptuous meal or a delicious meal in the expense of Right Honorable Mr. Elephant. Then they started to give their verdict. Called the man and declared as follows. Called the man and declared. What did they declare? In our opinion, this dispute has arisen through a regrettable misunderstanding. In our opinion, there was a misunderstanding between both the people. Regrettable in the sense feeling sad or something. That is regrettable. My dear students, when the committee came to know that both the people were having misunderstanding, then nobody can answer for that. So, due to your backwardness of your ideas, we consider that Mr. Elephant has fulfilled his sacred duty of protecting your interests. Mr. Elephant has fulfilled sacred duty of fulfilling, yes, or protecting your interests. Mr. Elephant, he does not have any difficulty, he does not have any loophole in his mind or in his attitude, because he just wanted to protect your shelter by hook or by crook. That is the reason he did his duty with full of concentration, sense of presence. He did not find any other thought when he wanted to help you. When this is the case, definitely somebody would have done the same. As it is clearly for your good that the space should be put to its most economic use, and as you yourself have not yet reached the stage of economic use, and even as you yourself have not yet reached the stage of expansion which would enable you to fill it, you could not use it economically. But the elephant used it very much economically, very much comfortably, in order to not to blow away from the hurricane, because he had a strong idea in his mind in order to protect his, his in the sense the man's hut out of the hurricane, out of the heavy storm. Fine, well, now next. We consider it necessary to arrange a compromise to suit both the parties. We want to settle it. We want to settle the case in spite of favoring to any party, neither to a man nor to the elephant. We are on completely impartiality in giving you the justice in this verdict. My dear students, Commission of Inquiry, they did not have anything in their mind except the evidence of the elephant, or the Right Honorable Mr. Elephant. Why? Because since all the people were belonged to the jungle, and even Commission of Inquiry also, Commission of Inquiry people were also included in the same category, that is the jungle animals. So how could they give, yes, the justice to the man? It was truly unbelievable. But it is very much realistic that man may not get his hut back. That is pretty sure. Alright, Mr. Elephant shall continue his occupation of your hut, but we give you permission to look for a site. At the same time, what was their verdict finally? Their final verdict was, you won't get hut back. Man would not get his hut back, whereas the elephant would get his hut back. Once the elephant has occupied, it belonged to, it is of his only, or it belonged to the elephant itself, not to the man. But what was the relaxation given for the man to continue to continue living in the jungle? So what has made him to be alive now? He was given a permission. Mr. Elephant can continue or shall continue his occupation of your hut, man's hut, but we give you permission to look for a site where you can build another hut more suited to your needs. If elephant is given the man's hut back after the dispute, after the quarrel between both the people, but at the same time, what was given to a man? Man was permitted to build a hut permitted to build anywhere, to build a hut anywhere in the jungle. He did not need any permission to build a hut anywhere in the jungle. Now, as per the commission of inquiry, we will see that you are well protected. Definitely, we will care for your staying. We will care for your life. We will be protecting you from all the areas without finding any disturbance or difficulty. Sure, man could not do anything. Man could not answer for any replies, or man did not ask against the commission of inquiry after getting the results, after getting the verdict from commission of inquiry. Why? Because if he would have spoken anything, he did not get anything from a commission of inquiry in the form of reply. That's the reason he just kept quiet. He had become completely helpless. The man, having no alternative and fearing that his refusal might expose him to the teeth and claws of members of the commission. My dear students, man could not get anything. So knowing this, fearing that, or afraiding that these people may do some harmful things if he refuses their proposal, if he disobeys their verdict, definitely he will not be having any future in the entire jungle. That is the reason he stopped to tell. I mean, he passed completely. He had a full stop to his words or to his queries. That is the reason he stopped asking anything. Once he was being given a permission to construct a hut in the jungle. Did as he suggested, right, but no sooner had he built another hut than Mr. Rhinoceros charged him with his horn lowered. My dear students, no sooner did he build a new hut, Mr. Rhinoceros had occupied his newly built hut. It was still confusing thing for him. He bewildered, he surprised, he was completely tortured. Why? After even finding the permission from the verdict that he could build a hut wherever he wants in the jungle so that he can stay under a safe shelter, but now what is happening? It's because of Mr. Rhinoceros, he is not able to stay. Again, the other minister, other council of minister, commission of inquiry, one of the members of commission of inquiry occupied in his newly built hut. Now where he has to go and from where he has to get the justice, this is the questionable thing for the man. After occupying, Mr. Rhinoceros charged him with his horn lowered and ordered the man to quit. After entering into the man's newly built hut, Mr. Rhinoceros had told the man to quit his hut. A royal commission was again appointed to look into the matter. A royal commission was appointed again. Again they wanted to look into the matter and the same finding was given. What was the same finding? My dear good friend, you have still an option to build another hut. Same finding means the man should go to build another new hut for his staying, and very immediately he has to leave his previous one. I mean, which has been occupied by already Mr. Rhinoceros. Still it was disappointing thing for the man. What he wants to do now? This procedure was repeated until Mr. Buffalo, Mr. Lambert, Mr. Hine and the rest were all accommodated with new huts. Mr. Buffalo, Mr. Lambert and Mr. Hine, all the commission of inquiry people went on, all the jungle animals went on occupying into newly built huts. It was very much difficult for the man, and still he was undergone with full of sadness. He was completely disappointed and despaired. He cannot think now. After losing newly built huts, what he wants to do? This is not a matter with only one hut. It keeps on happening with every newly built hut. This is truly disgusting thing for the man to cooperate with the jungle animals, as he is looking forward for his welfareness as well as others. They are going against of him gradually, continuously. This appears to be totally strange attitude or manners of the jungle animals against the man, my dear students. Here, this procedure was repeated until all the jungle animals. Then the man decided that he must adopt an effective method of protection. The man thought, what to do now? If I do not look at this, definitely I may lose all my newly built huts. So I have to plan for this now. If I do not plan for this, I may lose very earlier, and in future I will be shelterless or hutless or homeless. I may not be able to get any shelter for me. So how should I stay? He was completely questioned within himself. Then the man decided that he must adopt an effective method of protection. He thought that he had to get an effective method of protection by any means of communication. He had to win the minds of the jungle animals. But is it possible for him to win the jungle animals' attitude or their willpower? It's highly impossible, since they're all looking forward for going against of the man itself. Then he just can't able to be an answerable person. That is why what is going to happen now, as he wants to find a new method of protection for he himself, since commissions of inquiry did not seem to be of any use to him. He got to know that commission of inquiry was not at all useful for him from any angles or from any ways or from any perspectives. From nowhere the commission of inquiry was useful for him to find a solution for his problem, because whenever he lost his newly built hut, he did not get it back, but at the same time he used to get the same findings. But what was the use of every finding? The same finding, but there was no change in the execution, reaction. reply given by a commission of inquiry as well as the jungle animals. It was still surprising thing. It was still confusing. He was in dilemma completely. He could not able to control himself. So he just wanted to destroy the existence of the animals by involving in one or the other kind of activity, and he plans for that. In what way he does, let us see. He sat down and said, Ing indati yen de gaga motegi. I will repeat once again this line. It is written in African language. Ing endati yen de gaga motegi. My dear students, please underline this sentence. So why he uses this? Why Mr. Jomo Kenyatta uses this line, which literally means what? There is nothing that reads. Reads means to walk. Nothing that reads on the earth that cannot be trapped. I mean, any object which is having its own existence, it doesn't mean that it will not be killed, or it will not be damaged, or it will not be destroyed. Every living being and non-living being has got a limited period of time or limited period of an age. My dear students, everyone has got a limited period of time to stay back on this earth. Once the age is over, once our age is over, or staying abilities are lost, our chances, our time is over, we will have to go. Though there is a quotation, my dear students, though human age is limited, but his wants are unlimited. In the same way here, every animal of the jungle wanted to have its own supremacy over the man. But at the same time, man went on suffering, and he went on experiencing, or he is being experienced with different set of rules which were governed by the jungle animals, and at the same time he just wants to overcome of this. He wants to come out of this by hook or by crook. It is truly, it appears to be different one, but still we need to have a plan for this as per the man, and in what way he plans for it. That's what he says that through this sentence, as I have already read for you, right? I mean, in other words, you can fool people for a time but not forever. You can fool people for a time but not forever. My dear students, you can fool all the people in all the times, and you can fool all the people in some times, but you cannot fool all the people in all the times. Why? Because, see, it is reality. In fact, we should try to understand. Obviously, after losing something, a person gets to know with its effects and how he is going to reply to it. It is already known thing. That is why after suffering from different diseases for several days, whether to get a strong doctor or a strong medicine or a easy death. That's all, my dear students. One should try to understand the situation, how it is trying to put across the things, and how the man is bended by the man is always bended by the circumstances, or how the circumstances will make him to change and act accordingly. It is always trying to teach us. My dear students, next paragraph. Early one morning, when the huts already occupied by the jungle lords, early one morning, when the jungle animals occupied by the jungle lords, jungle animals occupied different huts. When they occupied the different huts, and they started to decay and fall to pieces. Decay and fall to pieces. Decay in the sense to destroy. Decay in the sense to destroy. And fall to pieces. And he went out and built a bigger and better hut a little distance away. He went out and wanted to build a bigger hut. Since his all newly built huts were occupied by the jungle animals, now he doesn't have any option in his mind except building a big grandiose, big hut. He has to build a big hut for all the jungle animals. My dear students, without getting a solution for the problem, you can't be able to move forward. The same way, man struggles continuously and wins at last. Man struggles continuously. Why he struggles continuously? Because he knows the lie of the land, administration of these animals. Since he is a rational animal, rational is nothing but one who can think. One who is having ability of thinking. One who can think, then only he can think, so that there will be no link with his think. My dear students, here, after building a big hut, what he was being shown, what was his situation? No sooner had Mr. Rhinoceros seen it than he came rushing in. From at some distance. The man builds a hut. Mr. Rhinoceros entered into newly built big hut. He started to rush into it, only to find that Mr. Elephant was already inside, sound asleep. Before the entry of Mr. Rhinoceros, Mr. Elephant was already sleeping silently in the newly built big hut. Mr. Leopard next came in at the window. Mr. Leopard too came over there at the window, and he peeped through the window whether somebody else was there in the newly built big hut. And next, Mr. Lion, Mr. Fox and Mr. Buffalo entered the doors. Lion, Fox and Buffalo all together, they entered through the door. Yes, its loud cry for a place in the shade, and Mr. Alligator basked. He too was crying, he too was making louder voice for getting the place over there. On the roof, all the jungle animals occupied almost all the huts. I mean, no space was empty in the big hut which was built by a man. It's truly fantastic for the animals. It's truly wonderful thing for the animals, but at the same time, it is such a worst thing for the man to lose his existence from the earth. That is why, my dear students, he did not want to lose his existence. He did not want to lose his way of living in further life or in future or in forthcoming times. That's what did he do? After occupying all the animals in a big hut, presently they all began disputing about the rights of penetration, act of going through. Penetration means act of going through. They started to enter into the bigger hut, and from disputing they came to fighting. They started to fight all together, and while they were all involved in a conflict, my dear students, they involved in a conflict. All of them, all together, they involved in conflict. They could not control themselves because everyone wanted to possess their own hut. I mean, especially they were all well attracted by this big hut because it was bigger in size and enough space to live in. That's the reason. Everyone, every animal from the jungle went into it in order to enjoy and relax under the shade. Alright, and man sat the hut. Okay, after when they were embroiled together, the man set the hut on the fire and burnt it to the ground, the jungle lords and all. So he set the fire, he set them on the fire and burnt all the jungle animals. And what did he say? Then he went home saying, peace is costly, but its worth is expense. Peace is costly, my dear students. Peace is costly, but it's worth the expense. Why does he say so finally? Peace is costly, but it's worth the expense. If peace was easily gotten by the man, definitely he would not have tried to burn all the jungle animals. That's the reason. He tried in another way to defeat all the animals in order to seek for the peace which was expensive for him, which was costlier for him. So they came to know that finally that the man's action was truly realistic. By saying peace is costly but its worth is expense, he lived happily, and of course after that he did not find any difficulty further. Why? Because he had techniques, and finally he knew that how to defeat and how to be victorious in his life. That's all. So unless Swami Vivekananda says in one of his books that a man who never comes across any problems in a day, he is not at all a human being. My dear students, unless we come across a difficulty or difficulties in our life, we cannot be called as human beings. So one has to, through this lesson, we can learn that one has to face always difficulties, challenges in our life, then only we will be powerful. That's the reason I always guide you people. I always support that by saying this quote. It is that Challenge the challenges, challenge the challenge before the challenge challenges you. My dear first PUC students, try to understand this lesson by reading the textbook, and I hope and I believe that you have understood today's the second part of the lesson. Finally, I even believe that you have completely understood the gentleman of the jungle, and it's all about on your understanding basis in what way you will be receiving it after listening to the videos. And please keep studying continuously. Here it ends. Thus the lesson, the gentleman of the jungle, ends, and in the next class we will be continuing with a poem. Thank you very much for listening to English classes, and please keep subscribing Sri Guru Independent PU online classes. Stay home and stay happy. Thank you very much.